I talked to Greenworks about this, and they said never ever put a battery of a different voltage in it. So the first thing I'm going to do is put an 82 volt battery in this. In terms of compatibility, my understanding is that the 80 volts use a lesser cell, and that's why they're only charged to 80 volts instead of 82 volts like the 82 volt batteries, even though if you look on each of them it'll say, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to get close enough for this, but it'll say right on it that the nominal voltage, yeah, there it is down to the left, your nominal voltage is 72 volts. And if you look on the 80 volt battery, that's going to have the exact same nomenclature on it, 72 volts. So the only difference is that these are better cells, and in high draw applications, like let's say the chainsaw, which I do a lot of videos of, where you're really asking the most out of the batteries, you know, you run the chance of trashing these 80 volt batteries because you're trying to get too much out of them all the time. In an application like this, where this is designed for the 80 volt, I don't see any way that you're going to hurt the 82 volt battery by putting it in the 80 volt application. You're not going to ask as much from the battery as you would in an 80 volt, 82 volt tool. So I don't think you run any danger in terms of harming the motor in this, or in terms of harming the battery in the draw. So unfortunately though, they make it so that they're not interchangeable. So you would have to alter this bar here if you wanted to make this, let's see, make this usable by both batteries. There are some older versions of the 6 amp battery, which I am lucky enough to have, and you see this will go with anything. It doesn't matter because it's just an open space, so those little bars won't affect it. So even though I can't fit this 82 volt BD 400 cell in here, this 6 amp battery will slide right in, no problem. So that's the information that I have, and I understand the manufacturer is like, don't ever, you know, Greenworks says don't ever mix 82 and 80 volt, even though they make a lawnmower and a zero turn that says right on it 80 volt / 82 volt. You know, my take on it is, if you can get an 82 volt battery to fit into an 80 volt tool, you're not going to damage the tool or the battery. I would, however, recommend against ever trying to put an 80 volt cell into an 82 volt charger and high draw 82 volt tools, because you're going to ask more of the 80 volt battery than it's able to give. And if the tool can't draw enough current, I mean, they're programmed to cut out, which is even what happens as I've had these discussions where Greenworks puts a battery that's not rated in its chainsaw. The 4 amp battery can't drive that motor. The motor's a 3400 watt draw, and this battery is only rated for 3200 watts. So, you know, if you go to the 5 amp, that's rated for 4000 watts. It can run it. But in terms of, you know, I definitely wouldn't ever charge an 80 volt battery to 82 volts. And, you know, I would recommend against putting an 80 volt battery into a high draw application where, you know, like I say, I think the safeties will prevent you from damaging the tool, but you would definitely run the risk of damaging the battery. But in terms of putting 82 volt and 80 volt, I don't see any sort of risk or problem personally.